I really don't like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, and here's why. Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. Right, I would actually argue, straight off the bat, these movies aren't Star Trek. The J.J. Abrams films, if they'd have called the Enterprise the Endeavour, set it in the same time frame as Kirk and Spock and so on, but changed the character names, have the same actors, but have a different Vulcan, a different good and happy captain, a different Scottish engineer. Actually, could have just changed him to an English engineer, and then we wouldn't have had to put up with that awful Scottish accent, but we'll ignore that. But no, they had to create a sequel. We had to have Kirk back and Spock back and Scotty back and everybody else. It had to be aboard a massive Enterprise, which is one of my first unforgivable things. These series of movies peel over canon constantly, and one of the things they did was made the Enterprise massive. It's even bigger than the Enterprise E. Now, Star Trek fans like myself are complete geeks. We love the technology. We love the details of Star Trek. It's science fiction. The science part, specific, measured, matters. In this series, they just made the Enterprise absolutely enormous because J.J. Abrams thought it would look better on IMAX. Now that annoys me. So, first thing on my list here, characters and canon. They absolutely wiped canon out with this film. And they used the time travel scenario as an excuse to be able to change everything. They basically said, from this point when Nero arrived and killed Captain Kirk's father, they changed history. Therefore, we're in a different timeline. It's the Kelvin timeline. So, we can do whatever we want. No! Why? Why? You don't have to do that. The universe is a big place. Just do a different piggin story, a different ship. Then, you don't have to peel over canon and wind everybody up. But also then, if you do change the characters, at least let it make sense. Now we're going to talk the black hole in a second, but let's just actually talk about things that are really basic, like, why does Captain Pike find James T. Kirk getting his butt kicked in a bar? Basically, Kirk at this point is a complete loser. He's been a criminal most of his life, from what we can tell. But Pike sees something in him. What we don't know, but he sees something in him. He tells him, why don't you join Starfleet? So Kirk just turns up the next day and gets aboard the shuttle. Leaves his motorbike, gives some bloke the keys, fair enough, gets aboard the shuttle. If I were Pike, I'd be like, there is some admin work to do here. You can't just get aboard. And then, when he does go through the academy, he cheats on the Kobayashi Maru, which, again, peeled over canon, and actually ruined a really good fact, a really good part of the original series, that Kirk cheated on the Kobayashi Maru. They just did that in the most pathetic way, really ruined that for me. But then, he gets aboard thing, and they apparently, when you leave Starfleet Academy, you just become random ranks and join random ships. You can become a first officer straight out of the academy, apparently. No! How did Kirk become captain within like a week of leaving the academy? It doesn't make any sense, and that is so infuriating. As me, who I am a Trekkie, I love the detail of these things. Make it make sense, for the love of all that's holy. Talking about things not making sense, let's talk about science fiction for a second. It's science fiction, but the important word there is science. So let's not have nonsensical science in the series. Black holes cannot be used to travel through time. Not like a big hole in space. It's actually not a big hole in space, even though at another point we do see a black hole being created that actually destroys everything it touches. You know, it appears within Vulcan and just wipes everything out. I don't know why they had to drill a hole down to Vulcan's core to do that. They could have just dropped that red matter on the surface and it would have done exactly the same thing, but you know, we wouldn't have had that cool parachuting onto the drill scene and everything. So, you know, we don't have to take two things too seriously, but you know, I'd like it to make some sense. So the black hole there wipes everything out and destroys everything, but then in the second scene Nero can fly through it like it's a hole in space, like it's a spaceship. You know, Spock's spaceship comes flying through 20 years later. It doesn't make any sense. Nero, talking about Nero for a second, he travels back in time before Romulus is destroyed. He could spend his time doing something about that, helping Romulus, maybe prevent the catastrophe from happening in the first place, or at the very least tell the Romulans they could evacuate. But he decides not to do that. He decides just to hang around for 20 years and wait for Spock to appear so he can go on a bit of a vengeance rant. It doesn't make any sense. Why would he do that? The red matter in Spock's ship doesn't make any sense. Why is there so much of it when only a single drop is all you need? Again, makes no pigging sense. Scientifically, it makes no sense. Then Spock and Kirk have an argument aboard the Enterprise, and Spock kicks Kirk off. He lands on an ice planet that just happens to be within walking distance of Spock and Scotty. Spock then gives Scotty transwarp equations so we can do transwarp transporting. Right, now all of a sudden we have transporters that basically mean basic starships are completely unnecessary, completely redundant technology, because you can just beam anywhere. In the next film, Into Darkness, obviously Khan does. So why are we still running around in starships if this technology is so freely available that Khan, a terrorist, can get his hands on one? And also, the technology isn't even that complicated. Khan's version is a shoebox about that big. It carries the technology in a suitcase. So, no, that makes no sense. Also, Spock, when he gives Scotty the transwarp technology, basically keeps saying that he can't tell you too much because it will change the future, but here is game-changing technology that will change everything, just because we needed to move the story along. While we're mentioning Khan, how thick is he? He's trying to hide his 72 friends, basically. So what do? Put them in a torpedo? How does that make any sense? How did he not know that the bloody Commander Admiral wasn't going to start test firing a few of these idiots? I actually love the Khan character. I actually think The Wrath of Khan is one of the greatest Star Trek movies ever made. Undiscovered Country is actually my personal favourite, but that's because it was the first film I ever saw at the cinema. The starting sequence is amazing. But actually, if I'm being 100% honest, Wrath of Khan is probably the better film. They kind of ruin that. Benedict Cumberbatch is a great actor. He loved overplaying this character. But the one scene where he's in the glass cell and he loudly announces that his name is really Khan made no sense. They don't know who Khan is. The other guys, Scotty and whatever, they're just standing there going, who? So? You know, it's just like, it's just a very strange moment that was basically for us and not for anybody else. And really, it didn't make any sense it was for us because we all already knew. It was horribly leaked, and basically, because they just keep trying to remake the original Star Treks anyway, that, you know, we all knew. It was just stupid. The whole end sequences, I shall always be your friend as well. That was nowhere near as good. Oh, and by the way, Khan's blood apparently is magic. Kirk wasn't sick at the end of that film. He was dead. And Khan's blood regenerated him. Now, I'm not a bit confused about how the science of that works, but basically now, death isn't a problem anymore, apparently, because we've got Khan's blood. If we can recreate that, all you would ever need to do is have a vial of Khan's blood on you at any point. And you just go, oh god, I've lost a leg. Inject, I'm fine. In the third movie, the Hive ships, and Idris Elba's character. None of that made sense. Where did he get the Hive ships from? This incredibly powerful piece of technology. Now, even though the scene when the Franklin is coming along and it's sweeping across and all the Hive ships are exploding looked incredible. Beastie Boys blaring along, beaming the Beastie Boys song, disrupted them and they all crashed into each other. I think, why would you actually need the song? Again, made no sense. I wouldn't mind one or two of these problems, but all of them? It's, at some point you just have to cross the line and go, this is crap. This is utter nonsense. And the other thing is, in the original Star Trek movies, if you start picking them apart, you can find problems. In the TV series, they contradict each other at times. There are these things that happen, but we ignore it because sometimes it's necessary for the story. The problem I have with the J.J. Abrams films is because J.J. Abrams doesn't seem to have had any respect for the movies. He doesn't seem to have had any respect for Star Trek. Now, There are lots of these things that he did that he didn't need to. He didn't need to make the Enterprise massive. He didn't need to mess around with the warp cores so they made no scientific sense. There's one, no, there's six, there's a thing. It again made no sense. There are lots and lots of things in the story, the characters and so on, that they didn't need to do. And they did because they looked good or because it moved the story along. And that is the reason why, very clearly I say, these aren't Star Trek films. If you watch them, change the name of the Enterprise to something like the Endeavour in your head. Change Kirk's name to Kenneth. Change Spock to Norman. Change the names in your head. Watch the films, you'll thoroughly enjoy them as action-packed, funny, enjoyable movies. But as a Trekkie, with your Trekkie head on, God, they're annoying. Right, get into the comments. Tell me what you think. What is the most annoying part of the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies for you? What are the parts of that movies you actually love? And am I just talking rubbish? Am I just overthinking it and complaining about nothing? Are they actually really good films and I should just let it go? If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out. You can actually join the channel too, and for a small amount of money each month, help me to produce more content. Also, get into the comments and tell me what sort of things you want to see on future videos. Also, you can join us on Facebook. There is a link in the description. Thanks very much, guys, and as always, stay safe. I'll see you really soon.